There were reportedly not even going to be dwarfs either. Rainbow people instead. I thought it was a fan protest. And even the word dwarfs isn't mentioned in this remake. The film has people saying, don't mock sleepy as a neurological condition. And dopey isn't really dopey. That'd be rude.
Brace yourself for the shocking unraveling of Rachel Zegler's fairy tale dream, as theaters pull Snow White from their screens and ignite an epic meltdown that shakes Hollywood to its core. The lights of Hollywood can be blinding when they first shine on you, and no one seemed more dazzled by that spotlight than Rachel Zegler. She was the breakout star from a legendary director's film, a young talent teeming with promise. Everyone asked, what will she do next? That question appeared to have a dream answer: stepping into the iconic role of Snow White for Disney's latest live-action adaptation.
Peter Dinklage questioned why the story even included the characters at all.
They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White.
Yeah.
And Seven Dwarfs.
Sure.
So, look, take a step back and look at what you're doing.
Yet the dream took an unexpected turn, becoming a full-blown online spectacle that showcased both the power of public opinion and the fragility of a carefully cultivated image. By the time the dust settled, Rachel found herself at the center of an internet firestorm few could have predicted. Now, what began as a fairy tale opportunity is remembered as a cautionary tale for modern Hollywood. Before the controversy, Rachel Zegler's life resembled a perfect Hollywood script. Plucked from relative obscurity, she landed the lead in West Side Story, a film helmed by none other than Steven Spielberg. In an instant, she transformed from creating small YouTube covers and performing in local theater to the red carpet glow of a major motion picture release. Critics called her performance spellbinding. She exuded fresh energy and wide-eyed gratitude, giving speeches that charmed seasoned industry insiders. It wasn't just that she could sing.
You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it, the disability, like we're a disability group. You just erased that whole image.
Her raw talent radiated star quality. She won a Golden Globe seemingly overnight, and Talk Around Town pegged her as the next big thing for Generation Z. Because of that, every major studio wanted a piece of her. Disney, always eager to build new royalty from budding A-listers, saw in Rachel a potential to reboot the magic they're known for. When rumors swirled that she might take on the role of Snow White, fans either cheered or raised eyebrows, but most at least agreed on one thing: she had the voice for a classic Disney princess. Skeptics pointed out that reimagining an 85-year-old film would be a tricky balancing act, but at first, these concerns seemed like mere footnotes in a surefire success story. It looked like Rachel Zegler was unstoppable. When Disney officially revealed Rachel as their live-action Snow White, the internet lit up. Enthusiasts championed her pitch-perfect singing and cheered Disney for an inclusive casting choice.
Now, fans are growing more concerned about Disney's new Snow White remake, mostly because of what the lead actress has been saying to the press. Rachel Zegler has been described as a walking PR disaster for Disney.
Meanwhile, others fretted that straying too far from the original fairy tale could alienate fans. Suddenly, every small interview snippet took on massive significance. Was she the perfect fit to embody this timeless story, or was she too modern, too outspoken? Much of the debate hinged on her statements about wanting to bring a strong and independent interpretation to the classic role. Some corners of the internet, those that placed nostalgic devotion above all else, didn't just question her suitability, they got angry. They wondered why Disney would depart from the source material that started it all. Online threads buzzed with speculation about whether the remake would preserve the hallmark moments that made the original so enduring. Would the sweet, innocent Snow White be replaced by a thoroughly 21st century heroine whose worldview clashed with that old-fashioned innocence? The initial friction was only the beginning. Rachel's every comment soon became the subject of commentary videos, Twitter threads, and heated debates among Disney loyalists. A significant portion of the negativity stemmed not from the casting decision itself, but from how Rachel spoke about the 1937 cartoon. In one viral interview, she declared the original movie weird and outdated, zeroing in on the storyline where the prince's affections seemed to spring out of nowhere. Another clip showed her openly scoffing at the romance, claiming it made no sense in a modern narrative. She stressed the new version would be all about Snow White standing on her own.
There's more. There's always more. Let's have a listen.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story.
Dreaming about leadership rather than love. On paper, that might sound refreshing, an update for a new generation. But for countless Disney devotees, her tone felt dismissive, as though the cherished original was unworthy of respect. Comment sections seethed. Memes popped up with captions like, "Snow White doesn't need a prince, but she needs better PR." Some fans took it personally, venting their frustration that she was belittling a film that literally founded the Disney empire. The more Rachel tried to clarify her position in subsequent interviews, the more combative it sometimes came across. Her sincerity in wanting to modernize Snow White sparked an internet uproar over perceived insults to the original. And with each new soundbite, the anti-Rachel sentiment continued to escalate. Then came the tipping point. A personal video recorded in the corner of what seemed to be her bedroom. Her voice quivered between fighting tears and stifled rage. She insisted she was grateful for every chance she'd been given, that she truly loved her fans, and that she was tired of receiving hate messages. Yet something in her tone, part desperation, part defiance, triggered exactly the opposite reaction she intended. Instead of sympathy, the internet zeroed in on her words and delivery, picking them apart with zeal. Clips from her tearful defense were reposted on TikTok with comedic responses layered on top. Reaction channels on YouTube paused every few seconds to add scathing commentary.
A new trailer is out for Snow White, and if you thought that Disney was going to salvage this film after all the backlash that it received about the direction it was going in remaking the 1937 classic, you were wrong.
Instead of viewing her speech as a heartfelt plea, critics zeroed in on lines they deemed self-important or out of touch. It became open season on Rachel Zegler. If she hoped to quell the negativity, that video did the exact opposite, fanning the flames until the entire conversation around her and the film felt like a twisted game of social media telephone, one that was only gathering momentum. If there was ever a moment for the box office to prove the naysayers wrong, it was opening weekend. The live-action Snow White debuted with a mere $45 million domestically, a devastating figure considering Disney's hefty $250 million budget for production and marketing. Industry analysts were floored. Comparisons to The Little Mermaid, which sailed past $95 million in its first weekend despite controversies, painted an even bleaker picture for Snow White. Suddenly, every entertainment headline read like an obituary for the film. Major theater chains responded swiftly. Showtimes were cut back. Some theaters shuffled Snow White to midday slots, focusing prime evening hours on other releases. Within 2 weeks, a subset of locations dropped it entirely in favor of better performing content. For Disney, a juggernaut that habitually dominates the box office, such a stumble felt unprecedented. Internally, murmurs of discontent grew louder. How could a property with such a storied legacy underperform this drastically? Publicly, executives tried to save face, chalking it up to shifting audience tastes and tough competition. But privately, many pointed to Rachel's ongoing controversies as a key reason the film failed to resonate.
Did I frighten you?
I let myself go all the way with the drama and with the character to really celebrate the evil queen.
Whether or not that was fair didn't matter. Once the narrative, "this is a flop," took hold, it was nearly impossible to reverse. Backlash is common in Hollywood, but it's not often this widespread or personal. Fans posted detailed commentary about how they refused to see the movie because the lead actress had allegedly insulted the original film. Others took aim at Disney for pandering to modern sensibilities while forsaking the element of classic romance that made Snow White a cultural milestone. Yet the real shocker came from inside the industry. Rachel Zegler discovered how lonely it can be when controversy overshadows her accomplishments. Her appearance at the Oscars, an event meant to celebrate cinematic achievements, turned into one of the most awkward nights in recent memory. Paired on stage with Gal Gadot to present an award for visual effects, Rachel looked eager to showcase unity. Gal, however, appeared stiff and distant, barely engaging with Rachel during red carpet interviews. The chemistry that fans hoped to see in a champion versus princess dynamic simply wasn't there. Insiders rumored that Gal, no stranger to big-budget roles, felt uneasy about the negative spotlight swirling around Rachel. She honored her contractual obligations, but kept her distance. That lack of camaraderie bled over into social media. While co-stars in big ensemble films often tweet their support or post behind-the-scenes pictures, there was radio silence. No big names stepped in to defend Rachel. No directors penned letters praising her professionalism. Nobody made heartfelt posts about how rough the industry can be for young women. It was as if the entire Hollywood machine had decided to let her sink or swim on her own.
Co-stars? Sure. Friends? Not even close. E.T. has learned there has definitely been tension between Snow White leading ladies Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler.
For Rachel, who had once been lauded as a heartfelt newcomer brimming with potential, this stark change felt like a public exile. Online, it fueled even more speculation. Had she alienated people behind the scenes? Or was everyone simply waiting out the storm, unsure if defending her might spark a backlash against them too? With box office returns collapsing, the film's mixed to negative reviews hitting aggregator sites, and the chorus of critics online, it felt like every day brought a new wave of anti-Rachel sentiment. TikTok became a hub for dissecting old interview clips. YouTube channels dedicated entire series to covering her Snow White meltdown. Some fans turned brutal, labeling her the face of Hollywood's arrogance. Hashtags like Snowflop refused to fade. The entire fiasco evolved into a broader debate about the modern reinterpretation of classic tales. Were studios losing sight of what made these stories timeless? A segment of Disney enthusiasts voiced their frustrations, claiming the changes to the story and Rachel's comments disrespected decades of cherished memories. Another faction argued that the media had blown her remarks out of proportion and that she deserved credit for trying to give Snow White more agency. But these defenders were quickly drowned out by the deafening uproar. The fundamental truth was simple. The majority of casual viewers either found her remarks abrasive or, at the very least, off-putting enough to deter them from attending theaters. It's one thing to read about an actress who's made some questionable statements. It's another to pay money, arrange family outings, and spend a weekend supporting a film perceived as tainted by drama. Faced with the unraveling of what should have been a career-defining role, Rachel's team jumped into action. Crisis management specialists circulated pitches to media outlets.
A series of controversies is threatening to derail the opening of Disney's latest big-budget blockbuster. I'm talking about the live-action remake of Snow White, which will be out next week.
Suggesting redemption arc profiles in which Rachel could candidly open up about the backlash, vow to learn from her missteps, and assure the public that she hadn't meant to belittle their beloved childhood classic. Rumors circulated that she might participate in philanthropic events or intimate talk show interviews to rebuild her public image. Yet so far, these attempts have gained little traction. The internet doesn't forget, and viral clips remain at people's fingertips. Reputations can crumble in seconds online, and rebuilding them is a slow and arduous process, if not impossible. Industry whispers say that after the disastrous reception of Snow White, a number of high-profile roles that might have gone to Rachel have cooled on her. Schedules become unfortunately booked up. Producers opt for safer choices, stars without swirling controversies. Marketing teams question if she can front a major campaign or anchor a global press tour without dredging up negative associations. Such is the mercurial nature of Hollywood. One moment, you're a fresh face who can do no wrong. The next, you're a risk studios don't want to gamble on. This predicament underscores a brutal reality. A single box office flop doesn't necessarily end a career, but combine that with a long trail of public missteps and alienated fans, and you have a recipe for potentially irreversible damage. The question lingers. Will Rachel eventually break her silence with a heartfelt apology or a deeper explanation? Will she pivot to smaller indie projects, hoping to rebuild goodwill outside the blockbuster sphere? Or will she continue doubling down, defiant in her stance that audiences simply misunderstood her? Rachel Zegler's journey from beloved newcomer to social media's favorite target.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece. Was it Variety? Talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
Reveals a stark truth about the modern entertainment world. opportunity can vanish in an instant when the public feels taken for granted or insulted. It's not enough to have raw talent or a powerful singing voice. In an era fueled by viral moments and unrelenting digital scrutiny, a single misplaced comment can echo far beyond the red carpet. Where does that leave her now? Some argue that she may still find redemption. Hollywood loves a comeback after all. A thoughtful shift in how she presents herself, perhaps a move toward roles that demonstrate humility and depth, might reignite curiosity. Forgiveness can be found if someone shows genuine remorse or a willingness to learn. Others believe the damage is already too severe that once the internet collectively brands you as a symbol of everything they dislike in a particular remake, climbing out of that hole takes a near miracle. Ultimately, whether she can recover from Snow White's flop and her own miscalculated words remains to be seen. Maybe it's a lesson for future generations of stars. Respect the legacy you inherit, watch your words, and remember that fandoms, especially Disney's, hold decades of emotional attachment. The path from next big thing to cautionary tale can be swift. And as Rachel Zegler learned in real time, the line between the two is finer than anyone ever imagines. Even so, the final curtain may not have fallen. Hollywood has a short memory when it wants to. A single breakthrough performance or a stroke of brilliant PR can change everything. If she chooses to evolve, she might secure a second act worthy of applause. If not, her story will serve as a warning. In a world where every statement can be replayed and every misstep can become a meme, you can go from being celebrated to condemned almost overnight. The choice between those two extremes can come down to one viral clip, one ill-timed interview, or one moment that defines how the world sees you. And for Rachel, that moment arrived wearing 7 dwarfs, a shiny red apple, and enough online chatter to overshadow any shred of the enchantment she once promised.